right here, it is now the civil rights of the majority that are the preference in our society. That is the message. The recent events regarding President Trump and his remarks on those with disabilities and also diversity. For example, Black History Month. There are 48.3 million people who identify as Black, so this matters. We are going to take a look at good sources of information, starting with the horse's mouth, react, then move on to a more detailed description and sources. The White House proclamation from President Donald J. Trump on the National Black History Month. By the President of the United States of America, a proclamation. Today, I am very honored to recognize February 2025 as National Black History Month. Context. There were stirrings that Black History Month was going to be taken away. Now, mind you, the DEI, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, is no longer supporting this, and we'll get into that specifically. Every year, National Black History Month is an occasion to celebrate the contributions of so many Black American patriots who have indelibly shaped our nation's history. Throughout our history, Black Americans have been among our country's most consequential leaders, shaping the cultural and political destiny of our nation in profound ways. American heroes such as Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Thomas Sowell, Justice Clarence Thomas, and countless others represent what is best in America and her citizens. Their achievements, which have monumentally advanced the tradition of equality under the law in our great country, continue to serve as an inspiration for all Americans. We will also never forget the achievements of American greats like Tiger Woods, who have pushed the boundaries of excellence in their respective fields, paving the way for others to follow. I love how he throws in Tiger Woods there, but leaves out Martin Luther King.
Obviously, don't put Obama in there.
Right.
Like, don't do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or a president of the United States.
Yeah, the first Black president of the United States. Don't put him in there because that's not huge at all.
That was part of the whole diversity thing. We got to knock that off. We don't want to support that anymore.
It's just ridiculous.
Right.
Hopefully people understand sarcasm.
I hope so too. This National Black History Month, as America prepares to enter a historic golden age, I want to extend my tremendous gratitude to Black Americans for all they have done to bring us to this moment, and for the many future contributions they will make as we advance into a future of limitless possibility under my administration, while we take the rug out from beneath you. That wasn't put there, but I added that. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim February 2025 as National Black History Month. I call upon public officials, educators, librarians, and all the people of the United States to observe this month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Now, mind you, this would not have been needed to state if there weren't questions about our government supporting this. And the reason why it came up is this. Good source of information. This is from the whitehouse.gov, and it is titled Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity, January 21st, 2025. By the authority vested in me as President of the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1. Purpose. Longstanding federal civil rights laws protect individual Americans from discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. These civil rights protections serve as a bedrock supporting equality of opportunity for all Americans. As president, I have solemn duty to ensure that these laws are enforced for the benefit of all Americans. Yet, today, roughly 60 years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, critical and influential institutions of American society, including the federal government, major corporations, financial institutions, the medical industry, large commercial airlines, law enforcement agencies, and institutions of higher education, have adopted and actively used dangerous, demeaning, and immoral race and sex-based preferences under the guise of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion, the DEI, or Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility, the DEIA, that can violate the civil rights laws of this nation. This statement right here, saying that by providing opportunity We are therefore taking opportunity away from others. That is the argument. Because we are providing opportunity and preference to a specific group, a very small minority group, by the way, other people are going to be excluded. One of the things that is going to come up with Black History Month in any type of discussion with this is the idea of systemic racism. An example from the ADA and my personal experience, the people who are using these are getting an opportunity that they did not have. Individuals who come from lower socioeconomic classes, first generation college students, places that don't have the certain opportunity that these elites have, which that is another point, right? He's supposed to say he's part of the people, right? He's got the people's back. But this is a huge proportion of the people. Everything from diversity and disabilities. That's a third of the population of the US.
Basically, you're saying white people have been discriminated against since we gave these other people rights. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, they had to start doing this because white people owned everything and wouldn't let people, people of color into their institutions.
Well, yeah, they weren't. And by they, I mean, those of a diverse background, they weren't given jobs. Because they were enslaved the jobs.
Yes.
And they did not get any good benefits out of that, I got to say.
No, I would say not.
Yeah. But remember, Zach, we're going to make America great again. That's what this is about.
That's
the new
what it's
golden age. Illegal DEI and DEIA policies not only violate the text and spirit of our long-lasting federal civil rights laws, they also undermine our national unity as they deny, discredit, and undermine the traditional American values of hard work, excellence, and individual achievement in favor of an unlawful, corrosive, and pernicious identity-based spoils system. Hardworking Americans who deserve a shot at the American dream should not be stigmatized, demeaned, or shut out of opportunities because of their race or sex.
Yeah, because that's happening everywhere.
I think the idea of American exceptionalism is an excellent message. I think it is an excellent motivator to embed into our society for the people to try to achieve things. And I hope that it's something that we never lose. The federal government is charged with enforcing our civil rights laws. The purpose of this order is to ensure that it does so by ending illegal preferences and discrimination. Now, mind you, it wasn't illegal. They're saying it's illegal now. Okay. Section 2 policy. It is the policy of the United States to protect the civil rights of all Americans and to promote individual initiative, excellence, and hard work. I therefore order all executive departments and agencies to terminate all discriminatory and illegal preferences, mandates, policies, programs, activities, guidance, regulations, enforcement actions, consent orders, and requirements. I further order all agencies to enforce our long-standing civil rights laws and to combat illegal private sector DEI preferences, mandates, policies, programs, and activities. That is a big one.
Wait.
That's huge. I wonder if that includes affirmative action. I'm assuming it would.
Well, yeah, that's almost exactly what he's talking about.
I'm assuming it is.
But so he's basically saying like anything that provides opportunities for people that have been, were subjugated by us when we founded this country, or of any other like standing where they
minority
might
class.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or people with some sort of disability, just to give them an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And he's says, take those systems away.
Yeah. It's illegal. It's illegal because it's discrimination, right? It's the argument of reverse racism. Or now it's reverse discrimination. That is how it's framed. Let me just put it this way. A lot of people that are pro this are going to end up getting fucked by this. That's what it comes down to. They just hear this message, but they don't look at the source of information that it's coming from that gives you the details. Well, it's because people only read headlines. They only read the headline. Who reads more than 3 sentences? Section 3, terminating illegal discrimination in the federal government. A, the following executive order and actions are hereby revoked. Executive Order 12898 of February 11th, 1994, federal actions to address environmental justice in minority populations and low-income populations. Interesting. Executive Order 13583 of August 18, 2011, establishing a coordinated government-wide initiative to promote diversity and inclusion in the federal workforce. Dude, I mean, these are just horrible things. We got to knock that off. All right, I'm glad we're taking care of it. That's a joke.
It's
Executive Order 13672 of July 21st, 2014. Further amendments to Executive Order 11478, equal employment opportunity in the federal government, and Executive Order 11246, equal employment opportunity. And the Presidential Memorandum of October 5th, 2016, promoting diversity and inclusion in the national security workforce. Dude, this is all horrible stuff. I mean, why would we want to promote these things?
diversity. It's just saying opportunity for
Yes.
diversity. It's not like if they're terrible at their job, they have to hire them.
Right.
You're creating an opportunity for a diversity of people with the job skills
Right.
that are required.
The federal contracting process shall be streamlined to enhance speed and efficiency, reduce costs, and require federal contractors and subcontractors to comply with our civil rights laws accordingly. Executive Order 11246 of September 24th, 1965, equal employment opportunity, is hereby revoked.
What?
For 90 days from the date of this order, federal contractors may continue to comply with the regulatory scheme in effect on January 20th, 2025. You know, now imagine if he gave this speech and he said, hey, everybody, I'm going to get rid of federal actions to address environmental justice in minority populations and low-income populations. Also, I'm going to get rid of further amendments to executive orders for equal employment opportunity in the federal government and equal opportunity. Also, we're done with promoting diversity and inclusion in the national security workforce. Just getting tired of it. And also, you know, this whole thing about equal employment opportunity, it's got to end. Now, imagine if he actually read what these executive orders are and gave it in a presidential address. People would be like, what the hell are you talking about? But luckily for him, people don't read.
I know, like September 4th, 1965. What happened right before that? The civil rights movement.
Civil rights, yeah.
Yeah, the civil rights movement. So we're going back in time.
Yeah.
We're like, he's taking us back to 1963.
Making it great again. Okay.
We're whitening this place up.
Mm-hmm. The Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs within the Department of Labor shall immediately cease. We're not going to take care of promoting diversity anymore, holding federal contractors and subcontractors responsible for taking affirmative action. Okay, it is going. Allowing or encouraging federal contractors and subcontractors to engage in workforce balancing based on race, color, sex, and sexual preference, religion, or national origin, in accordance with Executive Order 13279 on December 12th, 2002, equal protection of the laws for faith-based and community organizations, the employment, procurement, and contracting practices of federal contractors and subcontractors shall not consider race, color, sex, sexual preference, religion, or national origin in ways that violate the nation's civil rights laws.
What?
It's so interesting hearing how that's the violation of civil rights.
I don't even understand
It's a
what that.
completely different perception of what civil rights are now. Oh, it's so interesting. This is the civil rights of the majority. That's what this is about.
I know. We are just the whites they were getting, everybody's
Well,
getting
no,
too.
it's just like, let's just take color out of it. I mean, right here, it is now the civil rights of the majority that are the preference in our society. That is the message. Unless you provide people with an incentive to change, there will be no change. That's just natural human behavior, right? Unless you reinforce something, there is going to be no change. The head of each agency shall include in every contract or grant award a term requiring the contractual counterparty or grant recipient to agree that its compliance in all respects with all applicable federal anti-discrimination laws is material to the government's payment decisions for purposes of Section 3729B(4) of Title 31 United States Code, and a term requiring such counterparty or recipient to certify that it does not operate any programs promoting DEI that violate any applicable federal anti-discrimination laws. C.
The anti-discrimination laws are discrimination laws.
Yeah.
The anti-discrimination laws are enforcing discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
What?
C. A term requiring such counterparty or recipient to certify that it does not operate any programs promoting DEI that violate any applicable federal anti-discrimination laws. C. The Director of the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, with the assistance of the Attorney General, is requested, shall review and revise as appropriate all government-wide processes, directives, and guidance. 2. Excise references to DEI and DEIA principles under whatever name they may appear, from federal acquisition, contracting grants, and financial assistance procedures to streamline those procedures, improve speed and efficiency, lower costs, and comply with civil rights laws.
What?
Take the money. Next, terminate all diversity, equity, and equitable decision-making, equitable deployment of financial and technical assistance, advancing equity, and like mandates, requirements, programs, or activities as appropriate. Many of those, I believe it's the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were put in quotations, those terms. Section 4, encouraging the private sector to end illegal DEI discrimination and preferences. A. The heads of all agencies, with the assistance of the Attorney General, shall take all appropriate action with respect to the operations of their agencies to advance in the private sector the policy of the individual initiative, excellence, and hard work identified in Section 2 of this order. B. To further inform and advise me so that my administration may formulate appropriate and effective civil rights policies. The Attorney General, within 120 days of this order, in consultation with the heads of relevant agencies, in coordination with the Director of OMB, shall submit a report to the Assistant to the President for Domestic Policy containing recommendations for enforcing federal civil rights laws and taking other appropriate measures to encourage the private sector to end illegal discrimination and preferences, including DEI. The report shall contain a proposed strategic enforcement plan identifying. So we'll find out in 120 days more information of how this will be enacted. Really, in my opinion, let's see how this blows over first, and then we'll go from there.
I know, I'm like speechless. This is everything we've worked for years, to make America diverse, because America is diverse.
And what's interesting is people who voted for President Trump, I believe, in majority, would be very much pro all of these things that are being taken away. But the thing is they don't hear the things that are being taken away. They just hear this message of, hey, we're being discriminated against, right? Key sectors of concern within each agency's jurisdiction. 2, the most egregious and discriminatory DEI practitioners in each sector of concern. 3, a plan of specific steps or measures to deter DEI programs or principles, whether specifically denominated DEI or otherwise, that constitute illegal discrimination or preferences.
You see how the verbiage has changed over the course of this?
Now I'm curious about what laws will be enacted if people are found guilty of continuing to follow the prior policy. That's a reasonable question. A plan of specific steps or measures to deter DEI programs or principles, whether specifically denominated DEI or other words, that constitute legal discrimination or preference. As part of this plan, each agency shall identify up to 9 potential civil compliance investigations of publicly traded corporations, large nonprofit corporations or associations, foundations with assets of $500 million or more, state and local bar and medical associations, and institutions of higher education with endowments over $1 billion. 4. Other strategies to encourage the private sector to end illegal DEI discrimination and preferences and comply with all federal civil rights laws. 5. Litigation that should be potentially appropriate for federal lawsuits, intervention, or statements of interest. And 6, potential regulatory action and sub-regulatory guidance. Isn't that interesting that those who are trying to promote civil rights are now under attack and being said that it's illegal to do so? It's amazing how it can just change in an instant.
With one president.
Section 5. Other actions. Within 120 days of this order, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Education shall jointly issue guidance to all state and local educational agencies and that receive federal funds, as well as all institutions of higher education that receive federal grants or participate in the federal student loan assistance program under Title IV of the Higher Education Act, 20 U.S.C. 1070 ET, regarding the measures and practices required to comply with Students for Fair Admissions, Inc. versus President and Fellows of Harvard College, 600 U.S. 181, 2023. Admissions will be affected. Section 6. Severability. If any provision of this order or the application of any provision to any person or circumstance is held to be invalid, the remainder of this order and the application of its provisions to any other persons or circumstances shall not be affected thereby. This order does not apply to lawful federal or private sector employment and contracting preferences for veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces or persons protected by the Randolph-Shepard Act, 20 U.S.C. 107 E.T. SEQ. B. This order does not prevent state or local governments, federal contractors, or federally funded state and local educational agencies or institutions of higher education from engaging in First Amendment protected speech. C. This order does not prohibit persons teaching at a federally funded institution of higher education as part of a larger course of academic instruction from advocating for, endorsing, or promoting the unlawful employment or contracting practices prohibited by this order. So basically what they're saying is you can still talk about the stuff you want to talk about.
But we're doing it.
Section 8. General provisions. A. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect I. The authority granted by law to an executive department, agency, or the head thereof. 2. The functions of the Director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. B. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. C. This order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any part against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. Signed by the White House, January 21st, 2025. And there you got it, folks. So you remember when I was talking about like instituting change and hitting the education department? Well, this is from ed.gov, the education department. This is a press release presented on January 23rd, 2025. And it's titled, U.S. Department of Education Takes Action to Eliminate DEI. The U.S. Department of Education has taken action to eliminate harmful diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI initiatives, including references to them in public-facing communication channels and its associated workforce. These actions are in line with President Trump's ongoing commitment to end illegal discrimination and wasteful spending across the federal government. They are the first step in reorientating the agency toward prioritizing meaningful learning ahead of diverse ideology in our schools. That is a huge statement.
Are they saying you can't even...
What's interesting is right here, this comment, they are the first step in reorientating the agency toward prioritizing meaningful learning. So that means before this, meaningful learning in education was not a priority. I would hope that meaningful learning was always a priority in education. I think what they must be associating there is when it comes to learning, they're talking about the education of diversity or what they perceive as diversity that is discriminating against the majority. Following President Trump's recent executive orders and initial guidance from the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, the department removed or archived hundreds of guidance documents, reports, and training materials that include mentions of DEI from its outward-facing communication channels. The department also put employees charged with leading DEI initiatives on paid administration leave. Interesting. These review efforts will continue as the department works to end discrimination based on race and the use of harmful race stereotypes, both within the agency and throughout America's education system. Notable actions the department has taken include dissolution of the department's Diversity and Inclusion Council, effective immediately. Background: the Diversity and Inclusion Council was established following Executive Order 13583 under then President Obama. President Trump has rescinded the executive orders that guide the council and issued a new executive order ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing. I love how this term preferencing is being used rather than and diversity, because that's what that would usually be, right?
Yeah.
Now we are rebranding it as preferencing. You know, it's one of the things that's often done in the media, depending on what side you're on. A good example is Obamacare, right? Is they would say, this is Obamacare, right? Oh, because it has Obama's name on it, we better hate it.
Exactly.
We better vote against it. But what it really was the Affordable Care Act. Now, if you created a survey and this was done and you put Obamacare and then the Affordable Care Act, right? You can pick A or B to support. The majority of the people will pick the Affordable Care Act.
It's got affordable in the and care.
Yeah. It's all about the packaging.
Makes me feel warm and fuzzy, dude. I got affordable. I got care. I'm good.
It's all selling point. Got to sell it. It's all about how you frame it. The little tiny things that are used that sway public opinion to such a great deal. Under then President Obama, President Trump has rescinded the executive orders that guide the council and issued a new executive order ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing. That terminates groups like the Diversity and Inclusion Council. DEI documents issued and related actions taken by the council have been withdrawn. Dissolution of the Employee Engagement, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Accessibility Council, EEDIAC, within the Office for Civil Rights, OCR, effective immediately and pursuant to President Trump's executive order, that is, ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing. Cancellation of ongoing DEI training and service contracts, which total over $2.6 million. That is not a lot of money. Not a lot. Withdrawal of the department's Equity Action Plan. Placement of career department staff tasked with implementing the previous administration's DEI initiatives on paid administrative leave. And identification for removal of over 200 web pages from the department's website that house DEI resources and encourage schools and institutions of higher education to promote or endorse harmful ideological programs. You strip it from the public discourse, it's no longer talked about, goes away in an instant.
So now they don't even know if they've lost.
Yeah. Last paragraph. Pursuant to OPM guidance, the department will continue its comprehensive review of all agency programs and services to identify additional initiatives and working groups that may be advancing a divisive DEI agenda, including programs using coded or imprecise language to disguise their activity. Kind of like that word preferences. Careful review of all public sites and media channels for DEI language and resources will also continue. Ooh, that was a good ending.
But that's free speech.
The use of language, that means we are going to turn some what was once perceived as good words into bad words from society.
Yes, and that's...
Well, good stuff. I think we got some good information out there. I hope both sides will hear some of this information. if my opinion bothers you, I hope that you can just hear what is read or what was said in black and white, because that is the source of the information. Some of the information that I provided on the tactics of media are definitely relevant, be taken into mind, but it provides you with the means to make a better decision on what you choose to support or not.